Today on Forge20, we're making this beastly sized double lung accordion bellows.
3, 4.
Here's all the lumber I have basically in the shop. Those are some nice 2x. There's a 4x. I got some older stuff, some shorter lengths. I got a train in the background. I mean, I suppose it's good for the economy. They've been super busy lately. Anyway, all this stuff is going to end up being a bellows due to the unfortunate vacuum cleaner meltdown incident of 2020. 2020, the gift that keeps on giving. Alright, I'm basically scrounging through every single piece of lumber I have in the shop. I have one piece of 1x 12 foot long. And so what I did here is I just stacked everything up. I need the upper and the lower and the mid. So I think I have the upper and the lower covered with these two layers of 2x. And then there'll be, the upper one will be sheathed with this tongue and groove. And so what I'm trying to figure out right now is how to build the middle piece and make it structural out of all these little leftover scraps of 1x that I have. So that's the inner piece. It's about 28, 29 inches wide. It's about 4.5 feet long. So it's screwed, glued, and nailed. 2 layers of 1x, and I'll cut that out, and that'll be the pattern for the 2 outer layers and for the hoop. Well, it looks like Turbo Conquering Mega Eagle for the win. Electrical tape can be used in the shop for first aid. Also, don't grab the drill bit when it's turning. It's just a little chunk of skin that came off the drill bit. These are little bronze wood screws, pretty nice. And I'm just sinking them. Of course, you can't use the Craig's jig on this side, right? Because it needs to hook over the edge. I've already put all the ones in from the other side, and on this side, I'm just gonna sort of angle them in myself. All this is gonna be on the inside. Nobody's ever gonna see this. But I do want it to be corrosion resistant because I'd like to be able to leave this thing outside. So hence the bronze screws, and I'll probably paint the whole thing inside and out. Cover the surface and make sure we don't get any air through, and also help kind of stiffen everything. So these pockets screwed everywhere on both sides, from both directions. The plywood will definitely help hold everything together. It's really cold in here. My glue's cold, but at least it's not frozen yet. So all this is just rough fit. Like, I'll come back with the circular saw and take that side off, because I'm gonna just lay that the middle piece on and trace everything out. So I know I'm just gonna nail this down and use a lot of nails. I got everything kind of walled in there in the corner because that's where the heater is. Trying to give the glue a chance to set. It's super cold in here. So, made this little piece, which is just going to sit there and keep the piston back. The wire keeps it from rolling, and I was just thinking I needed like a little wedge to stick under the edge there, and lo and behold, there's these, which came off one of the pieces of tongue and groove. It was the piece holding all the pieces of tongue and groove together. So I'm just going to whack that down into 4 sections and use it to hold the pipe in place. String's gonna go away. And as you can sort of see, I just filled in with some goop, made kind of a and this is the shelf for the upper one. So I think what I'm going to do now is put the valve in, and then we'll be ready to use this one as a template for the other two. So these Japanese style saws, they only pull. Like you can only really go like that with them because it's so flexible. But they let you, I'm doing this inside cut here that I don't think I could do any other way. It's just different from Western saws, which cut on the push usually. All right, had a little cleanup. I just couldn't stand it anymore. Couldn't even walk around in here. And that's the second time I picked up scrap off the floor off this project. So we got the, I guess this will be the bottom. And we're just going to go through the same process. Mark it out, add a little bit around the edges there where it needs it. Cut it out. Add a stop like this one on the bottom. Make another hinge, and then we'll be well on our way. there's all 3 pieces done and varnished. Which, as I say that, I realize I didn't do the valve. I'll do that before I knock off. But that's all 3 pieces. You got to remember, none of this stain is really cosmetic. It's more preservative, except for on that piece right there, which is the top. You'll see some of that. But it's really just to keep the wood from rotting. Mostly galvanized or aluminum fasteners or bronze fasteners. Few nails though, like holding that sheet of plywood onto the 2x is all just regular finish nails. So better to have some kind of stain, sealant, and preservative on there just to keep it from getting rusty. So yeah, it's Friday night. I'm trying to get all these pieces done so I can assemble them tomorrow and put the fabric on. Hope I can get it done this weekend. Now, I'm not trying to slam anyone's products. I've owned actually like 4 of these things who shall remain shoe covered vacuum cleaners. But I'm definitely watching the duty cycle on this one now after burning one up. That was ridiculous. And it had nothing to do with the forge because there was no hot air backblast. I don't know. Okay, one thing's for sure, this isn't a how-to series. It's more like inside the mind of a madman. I mean, I wouldn't give you instructions on how to do it this way because there's so much scrap wood involved and the scrap leather and everything. Like, I would just never like try and advise you to do it like this. This is just me figuring out with whatever materials I have on hand. So here's the lower hinge box. The whole thing's upside down right now. This is the bottom plate that we're working on getting attached. And so there's the front of it. That's the hinge piece. And there's another piece of leather under there already. So everything will get all fitted together like that. This wrap over there and get nailed in, and that'll hopefully give me a place to put the cloth all around to make it seal. I gotta fill this gap. One little more piece of 2x4 goes in there. And right now it's Saturday afternoon and I am just banging along trying to get this thing done so that I can have a video for you guys tomorrow. And I really want this to be finished. So we're almost there. All 3 plates are done. This is the last bit of like construction detail before I gotta get it all set up to put the cloth on, I think. So I mean, that's really the key point, is that there's no plan. It's just figure it out as you go. And that's pretty typical for all my projects. Because when you use this much scavenged material, like, I have not purchased anything so far except for this stuff, which is a butyl-backed painter's tarp, which was what we'll use for the instead of a big sheet of leather for the accordion. So, some things you just can't scrounge, like an entire cowhide. All this leather is leather that I got. These are all edge cuts and leftovers from a leash shop. They make dog leashes and dog collars and things like that in a place in Berkeley, California. Long time ago, I went with somebody and she came out with a trash bag full of ends. See, like this is an entire edge of a hide that they just cut off and threw away when they were squaring up. And I've been using this leather for projects for years. I've made rawhide thongs, straps, all kinds of stuff. And now I'm making all the gaskets and hinges for this bellows. I'm just going to hold off on attaching the hinge for the moment until I'm sure I'm done making all the individual boards. All right, step number 1453. Add a little silicone to the inside there to plug up these grooves that go underneath the hinge block. Just making up names for things as I go along now. All right, there's all 3 of the big main pieces made. That's the top, that's the middle, that's the bottom. The valves are in, the hinge setups are done. I think the next thing is, if I can get all 3 of them in shot. So I think the next thing is to make the inner hoop for the upper chamber. There's just a thin piece of, it's like a bow that matches the shape of the pieces, but it's like hollow, and it just gives you something to nail the material to keep it from flopping around so much in the upper chamber. And so there's seats already built in here. Here on the ugly side. So there's these seats here are for the bow, and it will just kind of run all the way around and be hollow. I'm really running out of material. I got to be able to bend that out of something to make it out of one piece, I think. Oh boy. All right, let me think. Once when I was a kid, I stepped on a nail in a tree fort. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. So there's the whole inner piece done. I just cobbled together out of 1x with some reinforcements. It's a lot of little stuff to do now. Like, I just need to go back in and put tacks a bunch of places. I need to put the pegs in for the hinge there, cut this. Like I said, there's about 1,001 operations to do here. I can't even tell if that's focused. It's so close to my face. I think that's pretty much everything done. Let's put it all together. We're at it again. What's the point of making a bellows if I don't have any charcoal? All right, so the front, the upper and lower pieces, everything's all attached. You can see the hinge here. It's probably the last time you'll see so much of this block. And there's the whole thing held open. So here's the inner hinge, which we've seen. And here's the lower one. It's got a little more float to it. All right, now I got it spread open on the table. On the side. I was gonna cut off these axle stubs, but I just blocked it up. Figured why go through all the work of making them just to cut them off. I mean, they're kind of unnecessary, but this is what happens when you have no plan. The thing's so big, it's hard to get a good angle on it. All right, I had to bring it outside and lay it down to get it folded the way I want. There's just no room in the shop. And now I'm going to fold it back up again and bring it inside in a way that I can lay it down over the top of the thing. The patient has been laid out, covered with the corpse blanket. No. So the tarp is 9 by 12, and the bellows, like one of these boards, is 10 foot. It's 10 feet all the way around up to the nozzle head. So I want to have like a foot left over so I can lap and cover it all up, so I can use a double layer of the canvas, which should definitely make it airtight. I don't know. I've been one of the reasons it's taken me so long to do this is I don't have a big sheet of leather, and trying to figure out how to set this up and attach it so that it's airtight. I've been doing a lot of thinking about it. With this material, we'll see if it works. I half wonder if we just get a blowout somewhere. What I'm trying to say is we're about 70-30 it's gonna work. 60-40. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, so this is what's making me nervous. So I think we're gonna take the scissors and trim it down here, and then a little bit along here till we get to this point, and then we're gonna fold it under, put some silicone down, tack it down. I want to leave material down here so that I can cover this part, the hinges basically, but I don't want it up here, and I have to be able to fold it so it looks nice. So yeah, this is the part that's, you know, had me nervous about I cut it this way, this way. Can I just Edward Scissorhands the moment and it'll be done? Let's see. I mean, so I cut a flap, basically took out a big dart. All right. Finally found a use for these stupid little plastic clamps, which I've never used before in my life. Got a whole jar of them, been carrying them around. Bought them at some box store 12 years ago. Never used them. Finally found a use for them. First nail is in. There's a little dab of silicone under there just to make the seal. And now we're gonna run along and do a whole lot of nailing. It's definitely not turning out quite as neatly as I'd hope. I definitely have to do something about that. But I think I'm ready to flip it over. It's pretty much done. It's impossibly heavy to move now. I think tomorrow we build the stand. I've never put this much work into something without knowing if it was going to actually work. There's probably 1,000 nails in this thing. It weighs about as much as I do. I was trying to counterbalance it on the ropes. So it's well over 100 pounds easily. But we have it all sealed up. Liberal applications of silicone and wrapping and folding and tacking and like maybe 40% chance it'll work. Alright, let me just show you where we're at. Kind of flipped her around, changed my perspective. This board is just sitting on that. And so the problem was this valve was getting pinched closed by the upper board. So I added this block. You would have thought that this piece would have given you enough room to get it open, but it just needs a little more. So there's a peg that goes down into the baseboard, and then this block is also pegged, like on top of the peg. And that keeps enough room that the valve can get all the way open and let air in. And now it puffs. So I gotta seal it back up and make the lever arm. Now the other thing I'm gonna do is fix the nozzle to the frame with a post that goes from the nozzle down to that cross piece, because the center board doesn't need to move, and it will actually help a lot if it doesn't. So I think that's one of the other things I'm going to do. Okay, so a couple things I had to do. I had to fix the nozzle to the frame. That's this one. Let's see, it's bolted, screwed down there. And that's to keep the nozzle from going up and down and wasting energy when it should be the panels that are flapping. I have a little bit of leakage around there. We'll just add some more cloth, keep stuffing cloth in there basically until it stops with adhesive. I've reattached all this sort of the best I could. I just folded it under again. There's still silicone under there, so it's kind of, I feel like it's making a gasket. This drop cloth's working pretty good. And you can see here's the lever setup. I think I'm going to shorten that lever arm. And there's the rest block done. There's a little strips of leather there to hold it all together. I mean, I might clean up the post tops, like just cut them off and put a pin through and all that. It doesn't really need it, but I'll just clean it up and make it look better. My lever here is the piece that I cut in the making an axe handle video. So nothing goes to waste around here. And you can see it works pretty good. It's easy to pump, and once you get the rhythm right and catch the valves, you can make it have a steady blast. So I'm excited to try it for forging. We're gonna wait till it's not, you know, below zero outside, but works. It's really so beastly big you can't get the whole thing in frame. I mean, I've just been like pulling stuff out of here and rearranging and trying to make it so I can get far enough back that you can see the thing. I'm gonna take it outside tomorrow and try and get you guys some shots of it running. It really takes very little effort on the pole, and that's even without fixing the lever on the back. So I think it's going to work just fine. There it is. It's all hooked up to the forge. Let's get a fire going. What do you say? So you can see, nice, steady, even pressure. There, the flames have died out already. Gives you that nice, even blast of air that you want. Not too much, so it burns through the fuel too fast. Just enough to get the flame rate up. See now, look, you can see the flames have completely died out. And with just a few pumps, I gotta scream and blaze again. It's glowing red. Not sure if the camera will pick it up, but see if we can get a little hotter. Definitely see it now. Red hot. Great. All right, that's it for me. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode of Forge20. I had a pretty good time making the bellows. It was kind of a pain, but I learned a lot, and you'll be seeing it again in future videos. So that's it. Season finale, end of the year, end of 2020. Hallelujah. I hope everybody has a great new year. We all get over the coronavirus and get back to our normal lives. All right? I'll see you in January. Shit.
Yeah, that went way further than you thought it was gonna. Did it blow the gun apart?
Blew my fucking hat off.
Really?
Forge20. She got a great ass.